Nerds at the Cool Table, episode
Virgil.
Virgil.
Wow.
Episode Ablo.
It is our Virgil episode.
That's amazing.
What's going on, guys? How's it going? It's been, and it still is, a very intense week, and I hope it keeps going because the more pressure we keep on all the things that are happening right now, the better it all gets. How are you guys doing? How's everybody handling things emotionally? How are we doing?
I've been protesting, as much as as much as I possibly can, and while still trying to maintain social distancing. Like what we have that our ancestors didn't have was a pandemic while there was protesting. So like looking like I'm telling you, like in 2080, we're gonna be some hard ass niggas because we were all out there and like protesting. Meanwhile, there's like a pandemic.
Yeah.
So I can't wait to see like hopefully one day we see a history book and like
Hey,
all
man,
of us.
I'll take a pandemic over what our ancestors had to deal with any day.
100%.
Yeah.
But then I mean, true, but like we're still dealing with the same
For sure.
systemic racism, same bullshit.
Yeah.
For sure.
But it's nice to see that there are people who I never thought would be stepping up to, be allies who are
100.
really stepping up and doing their thing. So that's pretty dope. So yeah, I've been doing that. I've been signing all the petitions. Been GoFundMe crazy.
Yep.
Trying to help Breonna Taylor and everyone's family.
Mhm.
So just doing my part and seeing what I can change in the entertainment industry that I'm in that needs to be changed. Michael B. Jordan had a powerful speech, and I believe every word he says. He's a leader of the new school. He's gonna be the next generation's Denzel, and he set the tone with that speech.
Mhm.
And another person, not to go on, but another person who I just started looking up and wonderful kid, Mikey Williams. He plays down in San Ysidro. He's like a number one freshman in high school.
Yep.
But he openly was like, I'm really thinking about going to HBCU.
Yeah, I love that people have started that conversation because when we think about all the times where people complain or justly complain about kind of how the athletic structure in general uses everybody and kind of doesn't show any love and a way I think it takes a lot of courage to be the first or the second or the third to take that risk and to step into that conversation to be like, hey, we can make this our own thing if we're not happy with how people are being treated. So I definitely that was a beautiful thing to see, and I've actually seen more. I've seen like 3 or 4 athletes commit to HBCUs. So I think that conversation is applying real pressure with real money and real tangible protest. That I mean, the biggest protest you can make is with the direction of where your life goes. So I think that was a beautiful thing to get started.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I think it's the thing that I've been proud of and seeing is that our ancestors didn't have is the fast mobilization of everybody. Like, back in the day, people only had newspapers or the radio or television to like tell them where things were going, or even just organizing in people's homes. But like the fact that people are able to organize so fast and we can like change things at the drop of a hat by in terms of like how much money something gets and how like it that's been the most encouraging thing for me is just see the fast mobilization and just how like the pressure is kept going. It shows you that like
I think
more people. Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I said like more people. It shows that like there's a lot more people that care than not care.
Mm-hmm. I think it also shows us
social media being used for
puts.
good.
I'm sorry.
I was just saying social media being used for good. Like that's another reason why people.
I could barely hear Julian.
Social media being used for good. Everyone.
Yeah, exactly.
You can hear me? Okay, cool. Yeah, it's just that's basically how you said.
I think it also puts into perspective how real it was back in the day. Because if you think about leaving your house with no ripcord or no phone or no Uber or no let me call a friend to pick me up from here, like you were literally going out there with just your body.
Yeah.
and making that statement. And I think we take for granted the fact that we have this like never ending connection with information.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, I would go back and forth about it because it's almost addictive. Because if I leave my phone in the car, I'm like, man, I'm out of the conversation and I'm
Hmm.
out of the loop of whatever it is. But I think that conversation and that constant dialogue is what made all this possible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's funny enough. I've been checking out more. I've been using less and less screen time because there's, there's the levels of, you had the first level of anger, then sadness, then
Yep.
disappointment. And when I mean disappointment is there are people, some of our peers who didn't step up, man. And,
Yeah.
and it's just crazy. And you're just like, wow. And you remember a setting when you just talked about like what it means to be black in the entertainment industry, and they're just like, yeah, we needed to change, but like you're silent when
Mm.
this is the time where your voice is the most needed. I've been sending emails to, every sort of company. I'm on the plight to change the title urban because I'm from the suburbs. Like
Mm.
I'm more of a pop guy, but they would still make me the head of urban. I've been offered the head of urban position. Why?
Because you're urban.
But it's just like, oh yeah, so
You're
urban's
mixed
just
with urban.
basically just black. Okay, cool. Nah, it's just hip hop. Break it down to what it should be by musical genres. Ain't no
Mm-hmm.
such thing as urban urban album of the year. So
Yeah. I
why would
remember
there
that
be that?
Tyler the Creator speech that was super
Yeah.
powerful, where he was like, on one hand, I'm very grateful to be recognized in such a facility. And on the other hand, this feels like a backhanded compliment because when we keep making genre bending things, whether it's film or whether it's music or whether it's whatever, it's always a subcategory, even though y'all know damn well we can hang with y'all in the main category.
Hmm.
And that's kind of what I think a lot. I think that's the beautiful like domino effect of all this. Like people thought we were protesting cops, and we were, but to a degree, it kind of opened the dialogue for everything. That's like, well, while we're here,
Yeah.
let's address
Yeah,
let's that, that shit.
yeah,
I didn't like that shit because if y'all really want to talk this equality shit or y'all want to talk this resource shit, like let's have the conversation.
Yeah.
yeah,
And that's what it feels like
100%.
about like all of this is that these are all things that we've all known. We've all been in these, like, whether it's music, sports, film, like we've had these thoughts, we've had these ideas about like why aren't people that look like us getting more seats at the table? Why are certain things that we love not dominated by the people that actually consume it? And so like all of these things that have kind of bubbled up to the surface because of this one moment in time,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just like it's beautiful to see, especially seeing like how much the tide has turned when like it was controversial to say Black Lives Matter. Like companies didn't want to
Mm-hmm.
say it, or like a certain influencer
Hmm.
didn't want to say it because they don't want to lose sponsors or whatever, which is bullshit. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
people used to pretend like they didn't understand what that meant. There was this like,
Yeah.
well, they used to play dumb at it. And to see how like the tide is turning because all these little like sub protests of things are sort of coming to light. Just the fact, like I just talked about it earlier before we even hit record, like all these statues that are coming down of like
Mm-hmm.
slave traders or like Confederate, like these are things that like have needed to come down. And like
Yep.
people
yeah,
are like, you know what, fuck it, let's bring it down now. You know what I mean? What a better time
Well,
to do that.
exactly. It's that while we're here
Yeah.
conversation, and I
Yeah.
think
yeah,
we're understanding the currency that we have and realize that like there's value to it. I think
Yeah.
if a company we're getting to that point where two things are happening. I think it's becoming lucrative to be progressive
Hmm.
and it's becoming cool to be progressive. So it's not even as brave to do. It's almost like the logical thing to do.
Yeah.
And even what call it pandering, call it acting, whatever it is, it still benefits the greater good. Because even if you don't in your heart of hearts, which I know a lot of these companies don't give a fuck, even if they don't feel whatever they're saying behind the message, you just made a press statement because it was cool. So we're gonna run with that traction because the goal is in mind.
Yeah.
So I think
yeah,
we're getting to the point where like caring about things is cool. and it's what's going to make you money. It's not weird. It's not to the side. It's not organic. It's not some like granola shit off to the left that no one's listening to. It's the main topic.
Yeah.
It's the conversation.
Yeah.
So you can be cool and pretend that this shit ain't going on if you want to, but you're about to get roasted
Yeah.
for being
Yeah.
oblivious to the main conversation.
And that
So
Yeah.
and that's the good that's another good aspect that like Julian said about using the internet for good. Because we have the internet, we're able to hold these people, these companies accountable in real time. Like, okay,
mhm.
you made this, you put a black box on your Instagram account last week. What are you
Yeah,
doing this week? You know what I mean?
yeah.
What are you
What's
doing
up?
the following week? What's going on there? You
Run
know?
me my progress.
I think
Yeah. Yeah.
I think what I've come to realize like is that the outcome of all of this. I was thinking about it. I meant to tweet it, but I think I just didn't finish my thought and just saved it in my draft. But like the outcome of like everything that's going on, I'm like very excited about what like not just the U.S. the world is going to look like, and like after after this. I feel like it's going to be all this is going to make everything so much better,
Hmm.
and like it's gonna be a change for just the pandemic, the 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 rioting, the everything. All of this is like for a better outcome
Hmm.
of
Yeah,
everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
for one
Uh,
for one store owner to say, "Hey, this 20 looks fake." I don't think he knew that things were about to really set off such a domino effect to
Yeah.
the point where
yeah.
our nephews and our nieces and our future kids, they're gonna maybe, hopefully, like I reached to say, have a better situation with their government, or
Yeah.
have a better interaction with
Yeah.
their law enforcement, or have a better distribution of the budget of their resources. Like, I mean, maybe, I hope so. I think the idea that it all spawned from, and I think it's such a, I hate to make it nerdy, but it's such a comic trope of like the one spark that set off this
Hmm.
huge reaction. And I
Hmm.
think we've seen that in so many films and so many great storylines
Yeah.
of like, you didn't know that you were about to like pull the first pin
Yeah.
and set off this tidal wave of change. So I think we get to see
Yeah.
it in the coolest way possible, and I'm very, very thankful to be a part of it. I think we always look back at historical events, and at least me personally, I wonder if I would be brave enough, or if I would be involved, or do I have what it takes to. If would I be one of the people that stayed home, or would I be one of the people that stepped out? And we got to find out, and I think I'm really proud of everybody for not disappointing for the most part.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
that's the thing that I was like saying before, is that the great thing is that because there is so many avenues to protest, there is so many ways to protest, like, you know, and with it being a pandemic and some people being more at risk to go out, like, it's showing that it is okay. It's like, if you can't go outside with all those people, you can be active online, you can donate,
Yeah,
you can like organize, you can like make art, you can, you
yeah.
know, it
Even
allows it for that.
just the spreading of information, just
Mhm.
spread it. Like
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
something posted, like other people will see
Yep.
it.
Hmm.
That all of that is
100%.
Yeah.
just signing
Yeah.
petitions help.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, give money. I mean, it's a pandemic.
having
People
having
not
having
everyone has.
having tough conversations with your loved ones, or different
Yeah.
people that you're close to, or trying to have those tough dialogues to redefine things, or maybe, hey, I know you're a good person, you seem pretty dumb about this topic, let's talk about it,
Yeah.
and let's see how to get on the same page, because I hope to think you're not a malicious person, and if I find out you are, then I found out something about you, and we can move forward. But
Yeah.
I think there's, like you said, if you, and by the way, please do not feel guilty for not being outside. I know a lot of people that are struggling with still the virus, still the idea, and we all kind of have to make that decision, and for ourselves, be involved in any possible way you can. It doesn't leave you behind because you didn't rush into a crowd, but you decided to donate. Because guess what? There's people in that crowd who couldn't donate. So I think there's many, many, many ways, and there's many approaches, and there's many battles, whether they're online, whether you're able to hire someone fairly, whether you're able to do all these little things that make you just as big a part of the bigger battle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like being like that's another thing to just jump on to like piggyback off that. Like protests aren't for everybody. Like we saw in the
Hmm.
past week just how they can escalate and they can get
Hmm.
pretty scary for a lot of people and pretty fucking
Yep.
violent. Like people lost their eyes, people like got brain damage because of what happened. Like so
Yeah.
it's okay to not feel like you want to put yourself in that kind of danger. Like it's very understandable because they do get really violent, they do get really dangerous. So
Yeah.
like you said, it's if as long as you're still on the right side of history and doing the
Hmm.
work whichever way you can, you're fine, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's it's there's no need to feel like you need to perform and show that you took a selfie at a protest. You know what I mean? So
Exactly. And actually, please don't.
yeah,
Like,
no,
please, please do not
Yeah.
take the selfie at the protest. It is not Coachella. It
yeah,
is not, the cool thing to participate in. It's something we care about, and a
yeah,
lot of you guys do have platforms and audiences that are very, very powerful. And if you're using that, then I'm very proud of you. But I think we that one of my greatest the greatest quotes that I always love to hear is everyone's not wrong. So the audience will be able to tell if it's genuine or not. And I think you have to have those conversations with yourself if you're on some bullshit or if you're using your platform for good. Um, but we saw a lot of people kind of, especially in this day and age, like you're gonna get caught. And people saw a lot of people hop out the car,
yeah,
take the photo, get back in the car, or oh girl with the drill, or
yeah,
all
She
those
got
things.
fired. She got
Like
fired.
you could have stayed home
yeah.
and not been in the conversation at all, and you would have been straight. No one would have known that you dumb as hell. So you gotta.
Cancellations have been an issue
What'd
in
you
the
say?
past couple of weeks.
I can barely hear Julian. I'm
Wait, what did
sorry.
you say, Julian? Sorry.
I said cancellations have been heavy in the past couple of weeks.
Oh yeah,
Oh
it's
man,
it's it's we're too busy, so we just stamp canceled. Like I don't even have time to check
yeah,
whether
Yeah.
you were right or wrong. It's like, oh, you want some bullshit? Bye bye, move next. And
Yep.
yeah,
and sometimes, as we know by the name of the episode, the joke can be stronger than the truth. So if the shit is funny, that we might hold on to that too, even if you can explain it. Like
Yeah.
yeah.
comedy will run with it way faster than your explanation will. So be careful, be genuine, come from the heart, and if you have good intentions, I promise you'll be straight.
Yep.
So so let's keep it moving. As much as I really do want to keep talking about this, but I'm
We
sure,
can do this all
yeah,
day, but the people come to us for a little bit of relief, so
yeah,
let's do our best.
yeah. But obviously, we can. This conversation continues throughout the episode. But in order to kind of keep it moving, do one of you guys want to kind of do the honors of kind of talking about what this episode's going to be about? Like what our main topic for this
Sure.
topic is going to be? This is a
So
Julian
yeah,
topic. I think you brought it up.
yeah. Basically, I decided I brought up the idea of just just spreading some light on a certain artist or someone uh, actor or something that uh, someone that we appreciate in the black creative industry and what they're doing, just shedding some light on it,
Hmm.
whether it be
Yeah.
comic books, entertainment, like anything like that. So yeah.
Okay. Do you want to kick us off and kind of introduce us to you, the creative you wanted to highlight?
Yeah, the creative I wanted to highlight was Reginald Hudlin.
Hmm.
He I mean a lot of people I don't know if they actually know who Reginald Hudlin is, but he's been behind like tons of things. I actually know him, and actually when I first found out about him, I knew him as the president of BET when I was working there. I
Yeah,
didn't know
me and Julian were working for him at the time.
I didn't know what the things he had done until I later as I grew and did research about it. This man has been like directed House Party. He directed Boomerang, one of my favorite Eddie Murphy movies.
Oh, okay. I
He's
didn't
been
know that. That's cool.
yeah,
You see Jason, you see Jason's face. He didn't know that either.
I didn't see Jason's face,
You
but
know, 'cause, you know, in those movies, I'm sorry, you just never looked at the director. You know, you
No,
never
you
looked
don't.
at the see, like, yeah, and that's crazy. But go ahead.
yeah, he's been like the producer on like countless countless things. But like to name a few, he's been like the producer on the Boondocks. He produced the Bebe's Kids. He
Hmm.
produced what is it now? Oh, the Django Unchained. He produced
Mhm.
that.
Okay.
Um, and then in the comic world, he literally has he did one of the most important and probably most used, like, especially for the MCU, on what Black Panther is. He did a crazy arc in the 2000s for the Black Panther for Marvel, and a lot of what they use in the MCU is like what they use from that, like the
Ah.
whole
Yeah.
what is the damn what is the art? It's
Oh,
Afro
the we
Afro
I
Afrofuturism.
forgot.
I want to say,
Afrofuturism.
yeah, like he used a lot of the Afrofuturism in the book,
Yeah.
and I mean that's where they got a lot of that influence from
Oh, that's
in
cool.
the the movies. The
Oh,
movies,
okay. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, like Reginald Hudlin, he's like, I'm just naming like a couple things. Like
Yeah.
this one has been a part of many
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
black
I mean,
oriented he's
I guess
produced
the
and
main
directed.
topic is look him up because what
Yeah,
we want to encourage,
Yeah.
what we want to encourage everybody to do with everyone we bring up is to look up these people and realize that like this isn't new for people of color to be in this space,
No.
and this isn't new for Black people to be in charge of this space. Like Reginald Hudlin is the reason me and Julian first went to Comic Con because we
yeah,
went as a BET based thing because BET had cartoons and things in that space. So I think it was '07, um, and because of his efforts were the reason we got introduced to that whole world. So I think it's important for everybody we bring up for you to realize that like there are people that have been around for a long time for you to follow in their footsteps no matter what you want to do in this space, whether you want to direct, whether you want to draw, whether you want to storyboard, whether you want to act, there's someone who looks like you who's done it. And I think it's about time that we give them their flowers and show them that we're grateful and use that to the best inspiration of.
yeah.
Yep.
Amazing.
But yeah, I could go down the list, but just to name a few, like Reginald Hudlin. I just wanted to give like some black creatives some flowers, and
Yeah.
that's one to do it for.
Yeah. Fantastic. I'm gonna IMDb that man right after this.
Yeah, Reginald Hudlin, and
uh,
he has
Jason,
a script.
you want
I don't know
to
if he's
talk about yours?
uh,
Mine? Or you
my,
said David?
my,
No,
yeah.
I said Jason.
Jason. Okay.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I'll go into mine. Mine was someone who personally changed my life, and I don't like. I'm a cynic when it comes to life advice because I
this
feel
is
like he
true.
had to have lived it harder than me to tell me what to do with my life. I don't know. I don't. That's just weird ideals I used to have. But when we went to Amazing Comic Con a couple years ago, we ran into this artist, a black dude, very nice guy, cut off shirt, fro. His name is Terry Huddleston, and
Yeah.
he has a lot of pop art. And what drew me in initially is I saw black icons that and on a Comic Con floor, that's not something that you always see.
Yeah.
So like I always like stop, and I'm like I saw he did a show enough portrait, and it's
Mhm.
basically like a we'll post David. You'll probably superimpose one of his pictures in here, but it's like a portrait of anything like pop culture wise. So he did a show enough from the Last Dragon, and I was like, oh yeah, David, let's stop here. Like, let's. So we just stopped and started talking to him, just striking up a conversation, just shooting the shit. Because it was like, yo, we have really cool shit. His entire booth ran up from like you could step on his art and it still like rises up to the wall.
It was a
So
big booth. I remember.
yeah, huge booth. Quick backstory about him before I go into what we did at Amazing Comic Con. His art is like it's like Liechtenstein mixed with Warhol. So
Yeah.
and I'm a huge fan of it because I love pop culture. You guys can see behind. I would have a lot of his stuff, but my art here is all silhouettes.
Yep.
So, but I am gonna get a piece. But his it's actually a family owned business. So him and his kids and his wife, they travel around to every Comic Con and they sell that art to people. And they have an online store. So the entrepreneurial spirit was dope. I didn't even know. I have a new respect for him, knowing that he's like employing his family and like bringing them along with him, because like there's a lot of cons, as we all know, and that shit can get taxing on the fam. But the thing that he told me in Vegas, which made me kind of like, it was like a light bulb moment. I was going through it. I was just terrible, terrible time in life, and he was just that we had interviewed him, and he was saying that too many times people try to go for the big boss and don't stop at the level one monsters. He's like, you got to build, brick by brick, and immediately there was like a ding. I
Yep.
was like, yeah, I was like, oh,
And we've been using that mantra ever since.
yep, yep. And I think he's just a awesome, awesome dude. Very, very easy to talk to. Very, very cool. And I look forward to getting back into the con circuit and always running into him. Because now when we see him now, we always like, hey, what's up, man? And he's like, hey, what's up, fellas? So
David, David, do you still have the interview we did with him? Maybe we
Yeah,
can
yeah,
link
it's
back to
yeah,
that.
it's
yeah,
it's
That
in
clip.
it's I think it's on the episode that we
he's
did
on the
for
yeah.
Amazing Comic Con. Yeah.
So yeah, that was my guy.
Okay. Good choice.
Yep.
Very good choice. And that I like what you said about right now about like you don't really see a lot of I mean, you do see a lot of art from artists of color or specifically black artists at Comic-Con, but his booth was very big. Like usually on Artist Alley, it's like, this little table here, this little table there, which is great, but this one was so striking, especially like you said, because we could step on the art, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So I think that's kind of what drew us in, and obviously, like what that advice that he gave us just on the spot was like what really kind of had like pretty much has been stuck in our heads and stuck in your head, ever since.
yeah,
Yeah. Um, should I go?
Yeah,
yeah,
please.
So my spotlight, the black creative that I want to highlight and spotlight is Mark Bernardin. He's mostly known right now because he co-hosts the podcast with Kevin Smith, called Fat Man on Batman.
Mhm.
Can you guys see me?
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. He co-hosts the podcast Fat Man on Batman with Kevin Smith. That's how I first sort of learned about him and kind of got to know him based on like listening to the podcast and stuff. But one of the things I didn't really know was that he got his start, in the geek world as a journalist. So he was writing for Entertainment Weekly, Playboy, GQ,
Oh wow.
and at the same time that he was doing that, he was actually writing for Marvel, DC, and Image Comics. I had no idea until obviously I did more research on him and I heard a few more interviews with him. But he actually notably he's written for Static Shock. He wrote for Push,
Nice.
for DC, and he actually created a comic book called The Highwaymen at DC. For Marvel, he wrote for Wolverine and for Nightcrawler. I didn't know that until literally yesterday because I was like, I knew that he had written Highwaymen, but I didn't know that he had written Wolverine. Um,
Yeah.
but from that, it's kind of gotten him known in the comic world, and I think that's how him and Kevin Smith kind of knew each other, is because Kevin Smith also writes for Marvel and DC every now and then. Um, but he's also written for TV at the same time, and the he's written for. So the point. Sorry, I'm trying to like find my thoughts right now. Um, the thing that really drew me into his story is how he still technically had a day job, which was a journalist, but
Yep.
also was able to write for the things he wanted to do. Because one of the things he always talks about is that he's a geek from birth. Like he's an old Star Trek nerd, and like, has always wanted to write for Star Trek and all that. And his story about leaving your day job, to kind of pursue the things you want to do is so motivating for me, especially when you realize that he was already sort of a family man, and had kids and stuff like on the other side of the country, and decided to do that move to Los Angeles to kind of pursue TV writing. And some of the stuff that he's written for Castle Rock, Carnival Road, Treadstone, and currently he's actually co-writing the He-Man animated series with Kevin Smith on
Nice.
Netflix. Um, so just kind of like listening to him on the podcast and hearing him talk about all these kind of like, his journey every now and then, because you know how like every now and then certain, on certain podcasts they kind of throw you little like nuggets of like who these people are for real. I've kind of gotten to learn about him, and kind of his story is what's kind of motivated me to kind of see that wanting to write and wanting to create for these big sort of franchises and brands is possible. You know what I mean? It's doable. It doesn't matter how far along in your career you are. This is still very attainable if you kind of do the work. And one of the cool things that I just found out about him is that him being a longtime Star Trek fan and all the
Mhm.
work that he's done and everything that he's kind of pushed through, he's now a supervising producer on Picard, which is the new Star Trek show that's on CBS. So
Dope.
it's kind of cool to see like if you push for your dreams, if you kind of like do the work, if you like yeah, just kind of keep at it, it is possible to get to those dreams that you want to do, um
Exactly.
but one of the things that I kind of want to go back to, and the reasons what has really um drawn me to him, another thing is that he's a big proponent of black nerds and nerds of color, and how he feels and is a big push to like that nerds of color, black nerds specifically, can write for things that aren't just specifically black or like they call urban, or just things that only deal with race or any of these kind of like issues of struggle. It is, he feels that writers of color should really be placed at these tables to just,
Yeah.
we watch sci-fi, we consume sci-fi, we consume, adventure, we can write these things, we don't need to like
We live in the same world y'all live
yeah,
in. Like
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
that's the
like
Yeah.
we don't have this like tangential experience that we can kind of tap in once in a while and explain what it's like to do X version of Y. Like we're having a human experience, and
Yeah.
I think that I'm really excited. Not to cut you off, but
Hmm.
I'm really excited about the quality of creative work black artists will be able to make once they're not required to make black art. I think it
yeah.
as far as the story and as far as what it is, like once it's a given that your art is yours,
Hmm.
and it doesn't have to be like the hood version or the musical version or the rap version or the whatever kind of trope you want to disrespect someone and belittle them into being. I think there's a gold mine of just straight up good stories,
Hmm.
and I think we're getting closer and closer to tapping into that gold
Yeah.
mine.
um So yeah, I mean, pretty much that's a great expansion onto what I was saying about what he feels like is a given, now, and something that he pushes for and he encourages. And it just makes me think like if somebody like me is being encouraged by that, somebody even younger than me is being encouraged by that too,
For sure.
Um and I kind of wrote down right here what I said has he has such a good way of articulating these feelings that we have about these kind of things, but another thing I kind of wanted to kind of end this sort of thing, his this kind of spotlight on him. So he wrote for Entertainment Weekly for a really long time, and he is actually one of the reasons why Entertainment Weekly has such a big presence at Comic-Con.
Oh wow.
He actually pushed Entertainment Weekly to cover
Oh, so
Comic-Con.
it's his fault.
So
Huh?
it's his fault. We got
His fault.
Well, that's what he said. He was actually one of the people that actually helped create the EW party back in the day. For
crazy.
and
He gave him this power.
so the funny thing, he's actually mentioned, he's like, I helped create this party. He's like, I probably can't even get into this party anymore. Um, so yeah, like
Oh,
that's another thing I wanted to highlight at the end is that like he's the reason why Entertainment Weekly has such a presence, because he actually pushed Entertainment Weekly to cover it because of Battlestar Galactica. and like that was like what, like 08, 07 or whatever.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's his fault that we have this mission every single year. You know,
We never lost either.
we've never lost. But yeah, so yeah, that's who I wanted to highlight. Mark Bernardin, huge inspiration to me, and yeah, he's the reason why EW is EW at Comic Con.
Please look him up.
Nice.
Please look him up. Yeah.
For mine, I wanted to highlight someone who I think at the last con we were at, we were all very surprised, and I think it was a very specific joy of kind of like, I can't believe this person's going to be here when we didn't even know who he was, and his name is Larry Houston. He was the creator of X-Men the animated series, and sorry, the director and producer and one of the original people that was the reason why not only the pilot that failed in 1989, but the actual first episode of the show, which is 1992. Great year for a topic. Um, but that's when X-Men started. And I think, although I was a comic book reader, I definitely wasn't a comic book reader like Julian is, or like real comic book guys.
Yeah.
So I think my first introduction to this space, what Jazen looks hilarious right now, just trying to sneak in a hit. But uh, I I think I think it's really important to give to give credit to the fact that these shows were they were the first of their kind, and I think that's why we were all so excited that he was there. And it's almost like I can't believe. Moving along. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. This is part of it. This is part of it. I think it's so important for shows. I think it's so important for shows like that because they were the first of their kind. They were. I mean, you got to remember this was coming out in the same space as like Super Friends and Justice League and all these things that were for kids. And I think X-Men to come out of the gate and have a main character die, I think that was their way of announcing that, like, hey, we're gonna tell stories that kind of work for teens and young adults and adults, and kids will watch up to them rather than us speaking down to them. And
Yep.
I think that was because of that we have a very serious cinematic universe in both directions because of the scope of him deciding to tell comic book stories where the original lore was so intricate and complex, and be the first to try to really put those specific stories on television on Fox Kids when Fox Kids was kind of leading the way um, with those shows, and to be able to do Dark Phoenix, to be able to do those sagas in a very, very respectful and real, almost accurate way. He was also involved in Batman the Animated Series,
Mm-hmm.
which is he was a storyboard artist for some of my favorite episodes. And one of my favorite episodes is The Laughing Fish,
Mm-hmm.
and he was the storyboard artist on that. So that's two giant like columns or pillars rather
Mm-hmm.
The GOAT animated series.
Yeah.
of
Both.
Yeah.
of both the Goat series.
1 and 2.
When we found out that he was there signing autographs and selling prints, it was almost like hearing like Stan Lee, rest in peace, or like it's almost like I can't believe more people aren't freaking out because of how important this man is, and to be able to speak to him and pick his brain and ask him questions about the show, and I think it was such a cool. I mean, this is our history, and it's a moment of comic history, and I'm very thankful that he exists and he was there and
Yeah.
he was able to move that needle, and I think he's someone who's very important in this space. It's almost like when not to bring up a white dude, but when me and David saw what's his name, uh, the guy who did Deadpool and
Oh, Rob Liefeld.
yeah, like no, not sorry, not Deadpool, Thanos.
Oh, Jim Starlin.
Jim Starlin. Like to see these guys and to know that they are the reason we have these gigantic
Character.
story
Mm-hmm.
properties, and
Yeah.
they just kind of came up with them in some writer's room where they were drawing, and it really does feel like, I mean, you nerd out about whatever you want, but if you nerd about tech or you nerd about whatever, you get to go talk to Steve Jobs or Bill Gates and whoever, and see how it all started. So these are our equivalent origins, and I think it's very important to respect that for these people. So
Yeah.
definitely wanted to give a shout out to Larry Houston, and just thank him for his work.
He has a really great Twitter because X-Men the animated series is on Disney Plus,
Disney
right?
Plus.
He's actually dropping he every now and then he drops little like gems and hints and little behind the scenes like kind of like anecdotes about the show. Like the other day he was like going back and forth and talking about how he was one of the first people who wanted to create a cinematic like a joined universe within the
Mm-hmm.
X-Men animated series. Like he was like, yeah, I put Black Panther in it, I wanted to show Spider-Man. So like
Yep.
his Twitter is like really really good to like
And you know why you put Black Panther in it? Cause he was fucking with Storm. He was trying to give you
yeah
everything. Oh
Yeah.
my goodness!
yeah
And
Like,
it was dope because when we spoke to him, he was giving us gems like that.
yeah
He was talking to us about why Jubilee was in there. He was
yeah
talking about us about why Gambit felt redundant or why certain people had to change their personalities so that they don't become too like we can't have two Wolverines or we can't have two like angry brooding
yeah
that type of personality and like again why they had a character die and all
mm-hmm.
these things that are like I don't know. It's a big part of my story as a fan.
Mm-hmm.
Yusef, I'm just noticing that's a Minuteman picture behind you. That's fucking hard. I
Yeah.
didn't realize that. I was just now looking at it. I was like, that is dope. Sorry.
Thank you.
But yeah, Yusef, that was a solid one. You know
yeah
what? The three of you guys got the Larry Houston thing. Where was I? I think who was I with?
this
Did I like?
it was Sunday, right? Was it a Sunday or Saturday?
You went scurrying off somewhere. I remember that.
Oh, you know what? You know what happened?
No,
I went. I
I
went to
think
give
you
my
went to
brother.
some show. Oh, sorry.
I
Go
went.
ahead.
I went to go give my brother my badge so he can go on the con.
It was
And me and
Sunday.
V,
Yeah
me and V left.
yeah
And you
Yeah,
guys,
that's
because
what
I
it was.
remember in the group chat, you guys were like, "Hey, we met Larry Houston." And I was like, "What?"
Hmm.
The guy, I was like, "Oh, what the fuck?"
yeah
Yeah,
yeah the
there's
fact
a lot of there's a lot of Comic Con memorabilia behind me. I don't know if you remember that picture as well.
oh yeah
Yeah, who could forget? Because that was the one where we had the bust. That should be called Comic Con Deception. That's when we all saw that trailer and we were like, "Yeah."
Yeah, we were all
Wait,
hella.
real quick, while we talking about the con, which one? Which one was better? I know we had better accommodations than last year's,
Mhm.
but I think we made a couple more memories at the year before. Which one was
Agreed.
better?
Agreed. Agreed.
I like this last one that we did, but the fact that I got left out of the EW party the previous year kind of
Yeah,
puts a
that was
little
tough.
asterisk to that one, even though the after party was really cool. Being
Yeah,
being left outside of the EW party was just like, ugh, that really hurt.
That after party, the Shazam after party was historic
That
for
was, yeah.
yeah.
That was a funny party because I was drunk and I bought shots for everybody.
They were
at,
But
like
it
at,
was
a,
really,
at an
really,
open
it was
bar.
really cheap though,
they're
right?
like 50 cents.
It was really cheap though.
They were cheap as hell. I think they were like $1. I was like, oh, shots for everybody.
I've never seen
like 50
someone buy
bucks.
around for the whole bar like we were on TV. I don't know who the fuck he thought he was.
You know, and while we're on the topic of like unity and everybody coming together, again, we always recommend this. I feel like every other show we say this: make your way down to San Diego when Comic Con's there again, so you guys can really feel that unity and feel how everyone is like. There's no fucking.
You
There's
know what I was thinking about today, and like it was like a few days ago. With all this happening, and we've talked about this at length online together. The Black Nerd boat party was by
Mm.
far the best party we went to last year. I have a feeling it's gonna be even bigger next year when we go back. When
And
like,
think about
oh yeah,
who was the DJ at that party.
yeah,
D
None
D
nice.
nice,
none other than the person who started the fucking live club Instagram dynamic.
yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
Boy, that was a nightmare.
Yeah,
That
so
was
I have high hopes for that because you could feel that like, and I said it, you felt the energy felt so good, like people actually had rhythm, like it
Yeah,
was a good party. It was like my favorite party of last year.
maybe I'm calling it Black Nerds times Nerds at the Cool Table Comic Con 2021. That's a. If we let our powers combine, we will
nah,
throw one hell of a boat party.
man. We gonna take the boat out at the end of the night.
Oh yeah, we docking out.
Let's go to Mexico.
Um,
We'll be
um,
yeah,
back
man.
in the morning.
You guys all had great.
so before we move on from this, I actually do have one wild card that actually I thought about earlier today.
Of
So
course,
David slides in another pig.
wait, but this is an important one.
Top,
It's an important one because of its historical significance. And
okay.
you know how Yusuf, you were talking about every historical moment has a spark, and the past week's actions, there was one spark that happened, and it was before the unfortunate video that came out of George Floyd. But the day before, or I don't know if it was the day before or 2 days before, there was a video of a gentleman by the name of Christian Cooper who took a video of this white
Oh
lady in
yeah,
Central
the
Park.
bird watcher.
Yeah. So what came out, after like they interviewed him and stuff, everything came out like who he was and the kind of person he is, and why he was bird watching. I guess he's like an avid bird watcher. Um, it actually came out that he was a editor for Marvel Comics for a long time,
Yep.
and he was the first openly gay writer at Marvel, and he actually wrote for stories for this series called Marvel Comics Presents, which had Ghost Rider, Vengeance. He actually also wrote for the two final issues of the Marvel swimsuit special. So it kind of funny how that intersects with our world right now.
Hmm.
So I found that kind of interesting. Like he wrote for the Star Trek comics. He's written Marvel comics. He wrote the Excalibur comic book. So when I found that out,
And
I thought that was amazing, and that's like,
and now because of his efforts and his one could say bravery,
mm-hmm.
there is legislature being put into place that it soon will be a crime to just pick up your stupid little phone and try to get somebody arrested as a malicious act. So
Yeah,
shout out to
History.
heroes writing about heroes.
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. So yeah, so that's who I just wanted to add in, like right at the end of that, because I felt like it was important to
Yeah, and
sort of
I
mention it.
actually I made fun of David, but I had a wild card as well. Matthew, who was previously on our show, who is a
yes,
black
Matthew Bordenave. Yes, I love his stuff.
storyboard artist, and he's super duper talented. So we'll definitely do a little highlight post for him as well because that's a friend, and he's actually in our network and our crew, and I know his family and I know his brother. So it's really
Shout out to Easy.
shout out Easy, shout out Chris Focus, shout out the whole crew. I think it's really important to kind of nod at each other in this space because there's not a lot of people, but I think the few that are extremely talented.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Should we move on to news bites? Should we do news bites?
Let's head over to News
let's
Bites.
get
yeah.
Okay.
news bites. It's time for the news bites. Yeah, that's like a little jingle I was working
I
on.
don't know. I just didn't want you to be by yourself, man. Fuck it. I'm just gonna go with you now.
Save that, David. I want that on every News Bite.
We're
News
gonna hit
bites.
one. We're gonna hit one.
What happens with boredom and being in the house strikes?
All right. So first up, it was the news that Into the Spider-Verse 2 is finally going into production,
Bring it on.
and it's apparently still going to release on. It's going to release in 2022, and they say it's going to release on. It's been pushed to October 7th, 2022. So not
Yeah.
next
You know
year,
what,
the
David?
following year.
You know what? I have a surprise news bite. That's something we didn't talk about.
Uh-oh.
That's also that correlates with that. Is Marvel's the Disney Plus is still releasing those WandaVision this year. They said WandaVision is not being pushed,
Oh, that's good.
so we're still gonna get WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Oh, that's
Oh,
amazing.
very cool.
So
I'm
I'm
excited.
like, okay.
And we're still
So I
get
think
and we're still getting the Mandalorian season 2.
Yep.
100%, and we're Black Widow's going to be a theatrical release. They're going to release Mulan because theaters open on the. Well, I think we have that topic, but yeah, before I was like, shit, I don't
Yeah,
want to
no,
forget that.
Yeah. What was I gonna say about? Oh yeah, I was gonna make one comment about the Spider Verse, but I did see a funny tweet that said we still have time to change Miles's dad's job to something else before the release of Spider Verse 2 instead of him being a cop.
Oh my
I,
god, are we
I
gonna
mean, I don't want to get into that.
wrong.
are we gonna be those people?
No,
No,
I'm just referencing a tweet that I saw. That's all.
No, I'm just like it's saying it like in general. Like, is
I,
this what we're gonna do?
I was
Is
going
this
to
what
talk. I refuse to bring anyone down, and I refuse to even bring up the voice of Miles Morales. I guess I brought it up, but anyway, um, the we'll just kind of skip over that one. But I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. Like the first one was amazing. What happened at the end of that? Didn't it have like a man, I haven't seen it.
Ted Danson showed up with Whoopi Goldberg and she showed her. Never mind.
No, they showed Spider-Man 2099 at the end,
Oh yeah, that's
Yeah,
right. Yeah,
and they
excited
did
for that.
the meme thing where it's like, hey,
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
Spider-Man.
yeah. I'm
that was
excited.
so good.
I'm excited for the Spider-Man 2099 showing up in that. That should be pretty cool.
Oscar Isaac.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Oscar Isaac, and I'm interested to see how everybody comes back together.
Yeah,
Because the whole thing was they had that machine that.
yeah, they all went back to their own worlds.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So yeah, that I'm excited about
I'm
that.
front and center at that one.
yeah,
Sign me
front.
up. They got my bread. That's already
Yep.
committed.
Yeah.
After that first one, I was like, nah, we're good. Let's do it again.
Yeah.
And if you want to do it a third time, I'm there. So
So next up on the news bites. So this was a big surprise for me. I actually really like this. So Disney's going to be developing an original musical called All Night Long, which is going to feature all of Lionel Richie's song catalog, all his greatest hits. Um, I grew up on Lionel Richie every Saturday morning.
you
Did you
didn't.
really?
Yeah, exactly. No, that's what I'm saying. I'm talking about my personal experience. So I'm very excited for this.
I'm
Yeah,
for it.
I
man.
I like Richie. I don't know if I grew up on him. What
Yeah,
did
I
you?
was about to say I like Lionel Richie. I don't think I grew up on Lionel Richie.
I did.
David, I did because I
Okay.
had more hybrid parent. I had more like that was more like Lionel songs was more like when you had like your Caucasian friends' parents come over, and then it was fiesta forever, and it would be and they would all night long.
I had Lionel Richie, Billy Ocean, Prince, obviously the time. That's what I grew up on Saturday mornings every day. Yeah, so we were talking about this Lionel Richie musical that Disney's gonna do. What do you guys think of that? Opinions, thoughts?
I
That's
feel
cool.
know nothing about it, but
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't
I'm
feel
excited
much.
about it.
I don't
That's
understand
cool.
it. But I'll check it out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and if it's somebody like at like a high school and like suspenders, and he starts singing "Hello," I think I'm gonna turn this. I'm gonna turn the thing off. So it needs to be executed like properly with a
Yeah,
little bit of swagger. But
yeah,
just a tiny bit.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah, that sounds
I
good.
could, that yeah, it'd be really cool. I mean, his videos already were kind of cinematic and always felt like musicals already. So I'm really curious how they can up that. So
Hello,
why
he
not?
was courting a blind chick and she made a bust of him. How was that cinematic, nigga? That was just straight weird.
I've never seen a so
I
yeah.
mean, he had
Watch
dancing on the
Hello.
ceiling where he was literally
Watch
dancing on the
Hello.
ceiling.
Watch Hello is hilarious. The bust that she makes to him, bro, he looks like he's half the Planner's Peanut Man and Lionel Richie. Like he's crazy. His head is like egregiously big, and he got to pretend like he like it because she blind.
You,
And he's all like, "Oh,
me and Jaden have
But
no
mind
reference for
you,
what
she builds it because she touches his face. So that's how she's able to get. She gets his.
yeah."
He's
She's like,
Derek.
"God damn."
I'm actually surprised y'all got that much meat off the bone of this topic. We're gonna like try right through that, but apparently there was something to talk about. Me,
I'm into it. I really want to see it. I'll be there day one.
Awesome. What else we got?
We
yeah,
have. So this was. Oh, I put a Doom Patrol season 2 trailer. Came
Yep,
out
let's
today.
do it.
I saw the trailer. Didn't really show much.
no.
It was cool. It was cool. I mean, I'm gonna watch it. The first season was good. The finale of last season was meh, but the rest of the season was great.
Why does DC have that streaming service? Why is that the issue where the finales just don't do the damn trick?
Well, let's Titans fell off before the before the finale, but
Yeah.
yeah, some about the finale I didn't feel, but I'm excited. The first season as a whole, I guess, was really good. So I'll be tuning into that.
I mean, I hope
Yeah.
we get early access to it still. I mean, it's still DC TV, so
I
I'm
think we are.
yeah.
Yeah.
It popped up on the thing, so I think it's coming.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah,
Uh,
I have some news though. I have still not finished season 1.
okay.
Move on to the next topic, David. With your ass. You over here talking about watching the Lionel Richie show front and center. You ain't even watch Doom Patrol. Sometimes, man.
In the words of Jason, next.
Yeah.
Well,
Yes.
I like that callback. So this was the topic that Julian brought up too. It's I guess the rights to Daredevil go back to Marvel in 6 months. I haven't read the article, but
Yes.
what do you
Yeah,
know about it,
you know what
Julian?
that means? You know what that means? You know what that means? You know what that means? Peter Parker's lawyer is gonna be from Hell's Kitchen,
I was
nigga. Let's
I was
go.
actually I was about to say, if that doesn't end up happening, well, how did you guys want to see him? How would you guys want him introduced?
I want him to be his attorney. I want him to be the only person that would represent Peter Parker in court.
Yep.
Is that, and then they'll be like, there's only one guy. There's only two guys who I know would represent you in this kind of case. And it's boom, Murdoch. You see the door of their what man? The whole theater would go ah.
Is there a world? Is there a possibility? I don't know if it's possible legally, but could this be the first time we get a hybrid and get Charlie Cox?
Yeah,
love
I hope so.
I
Oh my God, like
I thoroughly enjoyed
yeah.
him. Bring everyone from Netflix. Bring everybody from
Yeah.
Netflix into the MCU. Like I didn't. Okay, hold on. Save for Finn Jones. I'm sorry, my nigga, but that wasn't it, Chief. Bring him, but like everyone else, I'm cool with that because like that I didn't mind anybody else from. Yeah, give me Charlie
I mean,
Cox. That's cool.
really, we're just
Yeah,
talking
I
about
wouldn't mind Charlie
Bernthal
Cox
and
and
Cox.
Vincent D'Onofrio.
Yeah.
Is that how you say his name?
Yeah.
Oh, bro, bring us Kingpin.
Yeah, that
Oh
would be
my
great.
God.
Kingpin versus Spider Man in the fourth one.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
You know
That,
what?
that
you know,
Punisher, that Daredevil, that Kingpin. I want to draft all of them into the MCU.
Hmm.
You know,
Please.
another way I was thinking of Daredevil coming into the series, if not Spider-Man, is She-Hulk, because She-Hulk is an
Yeah,
attorney.
she's a
Also,
lawyer.
she's a lawyer.
Yeah.
So I thought if Daredevil somehow comes into that show, that would be another
Uh-huh.
cool way to bring him back in.
Yeah.
Yep.
I
I
definitely,
think
I
he was
definitely
just-
see Daredevil or what's his name, Matt Murdock, representing Peter because he's a high school kid who doesn't have any money for a lawyer. So I could totally see that situation where he's like, "I'll represent you pro bono," like because he's
Yeah.
already established that as his character. That's what he would do. So I totally see that as a possibility. That already kind of keeps it in universe,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be so dope to see him and Foggy
Yeah.
just
I feel like
up there
this-
with Tom Holland. Just like
Like this will be one of the things we called into fruition because people have been talking about the merger of those universes for so long, and it didn't feel tangible. It felt like the two different scopes were so far apart, but I think that would work.
yeah, 100%. That shit just sitting in my seat thinking about that coming to fruition. And then, like y'all said, the fourth movie where we got Fisk, the Punisher, and Daredevil, and they all just go, man, the whole what? Come on,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
Yeah, I'm into it. I really want to see it. I really, if there was one thing that came out of that series is the perfect casting, the perfect writing, just the style and brutality of that character. I mean,
Yeah,
it would almost be a disservice to all of us who have been like following this since the beginning. You know what I mean? And like you said, like Yusuf said, like recasting Punisher, no, like you have like the perfect actor as Frank Castle.
Right.
Yeah.
Sidebar, since we were talking about that for a second, David, did you finish that show?
Daredevil?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Or no, I mean,
remember it was the Punisher. It was the Punisher. That was the one. That...
No, I finished it.
Punisher.
Huh?
You finished?
Yeah, he's like, hold on, let me call y'all back. I'm watching the Sound of Music, the extended cut, but then none of the stuff we want to talk about. It's like, oh, I haven't gotten around to that yet. I'm watching the Citizen X background footage. Like,
It's really true. I'm telling you, the Criterion channel just gives me hours and hours of material. All right, so moving on. So this is something I posted about today, and I posted the links to the two episodes. I don't know if you guys saw it, but today was the premiere of the Jedi Temple Challenge, which is the kids show that's being
Yeah,
hosted by Ahmed Best, most notably
yeah.
known as Jar Jar Binks, but now he's playing a Jedi Master in this show. Um,
yep,
Good for him. I mean, I saw
My
the two
Donald.
episodes. I don't know if you guys did. It's a kid show. You know, it's like the Legends of the Hidden Temple, but like with Star Wars.
yep.
Not as physical, surprisingly, which I thought it was gonna be, but I think it's cute. I think kids will dig it. I think kids are gonna be really into that whole thing. So, um,
What is that?
That's dope, man.
What does that come on?
YouTube.
It's on YouTube. Yeah, it was initially on Disney Plus, but they felt like to inspire more kids to reach a broader audience, they moved it to YouTube.
Hmm.
But shout out to Ahmed, man. Honestly, he's one of the nicest guys you'll meet in the industry. He's best friends with one of our main friends of the program, Senior Jay Lee.
Yep.
And yeah, so continued success and blessings to you, brother. We'll support it as it continues to you know, flourish
Yeah,
and continue to win. And speaking of that, pre-order win typical Wednesday by Jay Lee
Oh
as
yeah.
well.
Yep.
yeah.
Yep. Yep.
That is available for pre-order.
Comes out at the end
That's
of the month.
yeah.
Yeah.
Shout out to Jay Lee.
Hey, Julian, you should actually try to get your little brother onto that show, onto the Jedi Temple Challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be dope.
I'll check
I
it out.
could ask.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely try to get him on because I feel like, yeah, I think he'd be a really good competitor in that show. Um, so moving on. So this is the last topic that we have on this, and this is something that kind of came up at like 3:30 in the morning the other day. That I texted the group chat that I found like one of the funniest Twitter accounts that I had ever seen in a
Oh
long
man,
time.
this thing was
It
amazing.
is called Batman Slander.
Best Twitter account. It's my favorite one. It's my favorite. I love it. Every
Yeah,
tweet here is gold.
yeah,
Every single tweet.
It's pretty much it continues that argument and that not even theory because we know Batman's an asshole, but it continues that whole thing about how Batman's pretty much an asshole who would just beats up poor people.
yeah. And people with mental health issues. That shit's funny because you think of like where everybody escapes from is Arkham Asylum, and you're like, oh,
They're trying to
I
get
just
home
want
to
to read.
their families, and
I
he's
just want to
like,
read some of my favorite tweets
Okay,
from
yeah,
there.
perfect.
let's hear it.
One is imagine you buying an eighth at 1 a.m. and Batman come out of nowhere and break your arm. Like what?
Oh my
Batman let a nigga with a question mark suit defeat him with brain teasers. The other day, someone said Batman could lose his powers if the IRS audited him. This is literally this. Every tweet is gold. It's amazing.
One that I just saw said Batman could lose all of his sidekicks if CPS audited him.
Oh my god.
wow, damn, they're getting deep. I saw one that said, I'm paraphrasing because I don't have it in front of me, but if you killed Alfred, he couldn't get in his house.
Wait,
Rolling.
wait. One that I just saw right now said Batman killed the lights, and Bane said, "Ah, you think darkness is your ally?" And then he hit him so hard that the lights came back on.
Batman got to take his flu shot before he tussles with Mister Freeze.
Funny.
Yeah, people are awesome. That I love how that one came out of nowhere. I feel like that account probably got started right around when the Joker probably hit like home video because that's when we started to vilify Thomas Wayne. So everyone was kind of probably like, "Hey, man, Thomas Wayne was kind of an asshole." If we're believing the Joker, so,
No, but it's funny. It makes me think like a lot of people are on the same wavelength because I tweeted out like last week that, watching all the protests happening and all the riots, I was like, Batman wouldn't even be on the side of the people. He'd literally be on the side of the cops, just beating people up and shooting them with like his fucking tank
yeah,
and stuff. So like,
Batman would have fucked us up in a Hollywood protest. He'd have came down.
well, he would. I'm telling you, he would have sent a swarm of bats to everybody.
Oh my god. They would have been right along Chief Gordon. Just so what's the problem? Like, man, Chief Gordon's the problem.
Yeah. What you mean?
Commissioner Gordon is the problem.
If you lock Batman out the Batcave, he ain't nothing but Mark Cuban.
That's good. Mark Cuban knows karate.
I don't know.
Somebody said, imagine Batman in Endgame trying to throw batarangs at Thanos.
Yep.
It's gonna be
Hey,
for
hey,
him.
wait. Hold on. Same thing. What is Hawkeye shooting at anybody in that? This thing's shooting grenades.
Yeah.
Everybody's like,
That's why he wasn't in Endgame.
yeah.
That is
Um.
funny.
So that.
Someone, wait, hold on. One last. Someone put a picture of like a beautiful utopia, and it was like, "This is what Gotham would look like if Wayne Enterprise paid their taxes."
Bro, yo, like Batman's a billionaire. He could literally invest in the fucking infrastructure of Gotham and fix all the crime, bro.
Batman comic book 1. Batman uses his fortune to fix education in Gotham. You don't need any more comics. After that.
Right?
No, but the best one, they deleted. I don't know who deleted, but the one where it's like Batman when he catches you jaywalking, he's just it's like wailing on somebody. That was hilarious.
That was funny. That was funny.
Uh,
Oh man.
So I guess we're recommending follow Twitter/Batman slander.
Batman
Yeah,
slander,
that
yeah.
was funny.
Anything else, guys? Anything you guys want to add? I mean, this felt really cathartic to like have this conversation. And just kind of really just it felt like it's been a week of holding tension and this felt really good.
Yeah. I know everybody's been sharing links of things to watch documentaries like 13th and then those things on Netflix, and I definitely recommend that you do. But there's also comedy films done by black artists. If you wanna really learn about the history of how blacks were portrayed in cinema, I recommend Hollywood Shuffle by Robert Townsend. If you get a chance to rent that, that is a very, very important film,
Very
especially
powerful.
if you're young, middle or old. Every something in that movie will resonate with you, even though it was done in the 80s,
Mm-hmm.
which is kind of crazy. Like the tropes that and a lot of stuff. So I recommend doing that. Another documentary I recommend is 20 Feet from Stardom. If you can find it, it was an Oscar award winner, and it's basically about a lot of the iconic rock songs that were done by Mick Jagger and like all these, like the bigger bands. A lot of the stuff that we remember is sung by black women and black people as their backup singers. So definitely watch that as there's people pulling the curtains. So
Yeah.
that's my little entertainment
Yeah.
suggestion for people to watch: Hollywood Shuffle and 20 Feet from Stardom.
I want to recommend two movies I actually watched back to back yesterday. I recommend people to rewatch Ali, the Michael Mann movie starring Will Smith as Muhammad Ali. It's very relevant because it centers around the time that Ali they tried to draft him and he was pretty much left stripped of his license to fight for 5 years, pretty much his prime. And it shows how he struggled with both trying to be the best fighter but also doing the right thing, and I feel like Will Smith portrayed that sort of balance so well in this movie, and it's honestly one of my favorite Michael Mann movies. I know Michael Mann is not a black director, but he captured that story so well, and it captured that time in during the 60s really well. You had Mario Van Peebles as Malcolm X, you had LeVar Burton as um, Martin Luther King, like so
Mario Van Peebles is Malcolm X.
yeah.
You don't play the comedy in that. I'm sorry, but
But he did it. I thought he portrayed him really good, just for like those little moments that he was in.
I know it's just
Yeah. So that's a really good one. And then another one is a documentary called the Black Power Mixtape, which is a documentary that
Great
it was
documentary.
yeah, it was compiled from footage that Swedish filmmakers filmed during the 60s into the 70s. And it kind of shows the perspective of the Black Power movement in the United States from an outside European perspective. And there's voiceovers of, Angela Davis and like, like modern day, like thinkers, activists, artists, writers, over this old school footage and stuff. Is very, very amazing to see. So I recommend those two. They're both available right now for free on Apple TV. So there's no excuse to not watch them. You know what I mean? So yeah, those are the two I want to
But
recommend.
also, sorry, not to. I do not want to step on your Muhammad Ali thing, but there's a shit ton of other Ali
Oh, for
documentaries.
sure. I mean, this is the most known movie. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? That's
more like you more like more entertainment shit. But
yeah,
there's some good Muhammad stuff. I'll have to
yeah,
send you guys some stuff. But
Yeah, please.
yeah. What was the one that the other one that when he fought in Africa? It was when we were kings. That's actually
hmm
yeah.
yeah, my papa's all
Yeah,
he's in
I
that one.
love that. I love that documentary. It's really good. And I think that was by Spike Lee. I think Spike Lee did that one. Yeah. Anything else, guys? Anything to add? Anything to recommend?
Um,
I'm good.
I don't want to. I just want to say, to whoever's listening and whoever needs to hear this, like, I know I personally over the past couple weeks have just been like mentally exhausted, and I just want to whoever needs to hear this, like, it's okay to log off, like sometimes of like this stuff,
Yeah, man.
take a mental break
100%.
from the things going on just for a day or two, because I know like it could be a lot. So I
Yeah,
just want to like whoever needs to hear that, just like it's okay to like log off and go just do
Well said,
something.
man.
Watch
I
your
agree.
favorite movie
Yeah,
and just you know just take a
Yeah,
just
man. Care about yourself. We
yeah.
need you guys all
yep.
happy, healthy, and
Self care is a real thing.
hmm
yes, sir.
I like that. I like that
I
ending.
like that ending.
Yeah.
So you guys know where to find us, nerds at the cool table. I am
Yep.
David. You can find me at David Gallardo.
I don't know
Wanna-
who's going next. I can't see anybody's
Oh,
faces, but
okay,
Go
I'm
ahead,
go
Julian.
ahead, Julian.
yeah, I'm Julian Edwards at Julian Edwards on everything.
Yusuf, go ahead.
Yusef
I'm
at
I'm
YGLA.
yeah. Go ahead. You said
Sorry, Yusef at YGLA on everything.
I am at limited dot drops. That's my
Hey,
new moniker, and you can get your PPE here and your
you can get
new
your
Los
California
Angeles
pop
hat.
mask.
You can get your whole shit.
Perfect. All
So
right.
yeah, stay safe.
Perfect.
Peace.
Perfect. Peace.